Sorry. So we have a company called 5 Minutes Time. This is my introduction to you. The facilities in the informal market, as I mentioned to you just now, are growing at a phenomenal rate. 52% of the black middle class now live in townships, and of which 69% of them choose to live in this market. 20% of all money spent in South Africa is spent in the informal market. So that literally replicates that 1 in every 5 rand is spent within the informal or traditional trade. An estimated 10.5 million households nationally are located within close proximity to spazas, which accounts for approximately 40 to 41% of the population of South Africa. I think it's interesting to note that although I credit where I've always received the information, in this example down the bottom of the screen, you'll see it says Unilever UCT Institute 2015. The last time a census was done in South Africa was in 2011. So a lot of the figures may have grown substantially. However, the basis to the understanding that the informal market is growing quicker than the formalized market at this stage is definitely true. The retail landscape in South Africa over the last 15 years or so has changed quite dramatically. If we look at some of the figures displayed here, from the Discounts to the Clicks to the Spar Group to the Pick and Pays and the ShopRite Checkers, fuel stations at 4,600, that is a collective figure. So the BPs, the engines, and so forth. If we were to overlay the Spaza market only onto this, it's estimated at about 134,000. And that would lead us to our thinking that we believe as a company that traditional trade is the new retail giant coming into South Africa. There are challenges. When we started the business close on 6 years ago, one of the reasons we came into the market was to reinitialize or reinvigorate the market because we felt that there was extreme profiteering coming out of cash and carries and wholesalers, which was putting an upward pressure on the price point. And ultimately, unfortunately, in those kind of situations, it's really only the consumer that loses and the brand custodian, yourselves as examples. Trips are made once a week, if not once a month, through to the Spaznet, and it's bought in increments that would not necessarily support the way in which wholesalers and cash and carries work. So by example, a shrink or a pallet, which is generally sold out of a wholesaler net, would not be broken down into denominations that a Spaza owner or trader could buy in. And that for us was interesting. A couple of years down the line now, we've obviously got bulk breakers that come into the mix and have also pushed up the price point. Then obviously generating weight and handling across the market becomes incredibly difficult. If you look at South Africa right now, from a geographical point of view, the distances between some markets are exorbitant, and reaching those markets becomes incredibly tough. So the landscape in terms of its challenges are that in South Africa, the informal market doesn't have access to the ability of coming into work on a Monday morning, noting that potentially tea, as an example, is out of stock, pressing a button on a computer system and a truck arrives. So that was the challenge that we needed to look at. Runners and buying groups are pushing up the price points, as are the cash and carriers and wholesalers. DCs and cash and carriers don't often necessarily cater to the needs of the Spaza owner. And I think that's a critical point. In a lot of instances, a Spaza owner may not be able to buy a shrink of coffee today in one fell swoop. However, the increments over the week would allow them still to get to the same value or the same denomination. And we thought that was critical when we were launching our business. So for us, the opportunity was then, how do we develop a system that delivers to the Spaza owner directly? We don't work with middlemen, we work directly with Spaza owners in a quick, agile, dynamic, and fast solution to them in orders or denominations that they can afford. We approached it from a proactive manner versus an ordering-based system, and looking at the broad geographical reach of the country, and that how were we to engage with them. So the company 5 Minutes Time was created almost 6 years ago. The role that we facilitate, if I don't know if you can see the cursor on your side, but I'm just going to move it over here on my side. The role that we facilitate currently is twofold. So currently, as we distribute right now, we pull from wholesalers and cash and carries at a negotiated rate. So the price point that's coming out to a normal consumer from a cash and carry or wholesaler, we're slightly under that. Generally speaking, about 10%. We then on-sell at exactly the same rate. And I'll come back to the commercials on how we operate as a business. But I think it's critical to go why we've done that. The main objective was always to disintermediate all the middlemen that were profiteering out of this mix, allowing the Spaza owner proper margin, first and foremost, allowing the consumer to be able to buy the product at the right price. And lastly, and as importantly then, is ensuring that the brand custodian at the end of the day has a recommended retail price which is attained. So in option 1, which is our business, we're able to deliver directly to Spaza owners at a discounted price. We are investigating and currently rolling out our own warehousing now in market, which allows us then to take the margin that is currently being paid over to wholesalers, cash carries, and pass that on to the Spaza owner themselves, generating more loyalty and more value towards the end consumer. So as I mentioned to you right now, we pull out of a wholesale and cash and carry environment. This is now also the case where we pull out of our own DCs and deliver directly to the Spaza owner. Quick facts about 5 Minutes to Town. We're a solution that delivers commercial brands to pharmacies, spazas, salons, barbers, and tabletops. The marketplace is estimated on last research at approximately 75 billion rand, or 1 in every 5 rand, as originally mentioned. We're a proactive delivery and ordering system into the market, and everything is driven through cloud-based apps, which I'll take you through shortly. So there's transparency on everything we do, and I think that's critical. I think there are a lot of companies operating within South Africa right now that claim to have astronomical reaches, delivering large volumes of goods to the market. However, the transparency is never really clear. From our side, and I'll take it through you shortly, you're able to see where our drivers are at any given moment, what they're selling, how much they're selling it for, and what's happening in that market. So the bottom line is we believe we go where others can't, delivering spazas, forecourts, pharmacies, salons, barbers across the country. Each of the pins that you see there that has a number representing underneath it is the number of BSAs, which we term bike sales agents, delivering in that market. Obviously, for the sake of time, there are about 50 slides that come after this, which is geographical mapping. I've kept it short. I'm just going to show you Gauteng, so you have a framework of reference as to how we deliver. So in the Gauteng, as I mentioned just now, there are about 63 agents. These are where the agents are located. Soweto, one of our large markets in South Africa, that potentially has 10 or 11 agents currently selling within that market. Onto a grassroots level, we're right down to the suburb levels into these markets. So from the Johannesburgs through to the Mayfairs and Randburgs and Lindens, we deliver right down to the final last mile, as we like to call it. So how do we deliver to these areas? We initially launched with, on the first visual up above, the 150cc motorbike, which had ease of access onto the highways, ease of access into the back streets. A lot of our markets, unfortunately, don't even have tarred roads or capabilities. With this form of delivery, we're able to go straight to the river, as up from Tonga and our border close to Komatipoort, or if necessity prevails and we need to go into Joburg CBD, and there's always traffic and congestion, as you would experience from your countries, we're able to just drive up onto the pavements and deliver directly into the Spaza. We are currently also deployed in terms of the tuk-tuk, the Peugeot tuk-tuk, which is a 500-litre bin for larger volumetric orders. All of our bikes and systems are linked into our own app, which gives you one insurance and peace of mind that we are delivering where we say we're delivering, and gives us the ability to reach our KPIs that I'm sure you position us against. The services that we offer as a business, and I'm going to run through each of them individually, is traditional trade audits, mobile marketing campaigns, point of sale distribution, in-field branding, traditional trade distribution, and sampling and engagement. If I may talk through each of these individually just for you, because I see there were some questions that came back on how do we verify markets for you. We have found that over the course of the last 5 years, there are a lot of companies that have an idea as to what is happening in the informal market, but I don't think anyone really has the in-depth knowledge to be able to give with certainty the exact figures that are happening in markets. So a client will approach us and say, we'd like to engage with Tembisa, which is one of our markets. First of all, we go in and we audit every single spaza in Tembisa. Tembisa is about 42 square kilometers. We'll go into all 802 or 804 spazas, tell you exactly, are your competitors there? Competitors being there tells me that there is desirability for your category. Then is your product there? And if it is there, what is your shelf space? What is the price check? Are they selling in line with the recommended retail price? What is the depth of shelf? What is the replenishment cycles? And I think that's critical to understanding whether a market will adopt your product on the onset, or if there's work that needs to be done from a, let's say, activation or below the line point of view. Mobile marketing campaigns. All our spaza owners are on agreement with us and contractual agreement with us. We supply them with information that would benefit them. We'll never do a marketing campaign that talks to something that is of no value to them. It'll always be the price of, let's say, coffee today, if bought through us, is down by 25%, driving price fulfillment and the better price points for the spaza owner. So our objectives with mobile marketing campaigns is direct to spaza owner, no middlemen, and it always needs to benefit the spaza owner. From a point of sale distribution perspective, we both produce and deploy all the point of sale material required in store. Obviously, if you have your own agencies, which you'd prefer to use, we're happy to use them. We would then just deploy the information in. In the examples I've shown you there, there is Speco Rice, which is an exterior build or exterior paint. We've got the shelf strips, the shelf talkers, the bunting on the far right corner. You'll notice in the imagery that there is always a geo point tag on it. So if we tell you we have deployed 804 points of sales in Tembisa, and all of them have the GPS locations on it, one, you're able to go and vet that we have told you the truth and we haven't misled you. And two, it gives us the ability then to create library effects for you. So you can always see that your information is up at any time in the correct stores that you require. In-field branding, this is a short one, is simply that we allow all our drivers to be branded by you, the brand custodian. The reason for that is it creates legitimacy. In a lot of instances, there is quite a bit of illicit trade in South Africa, where products that you and I would both recognize that. Unfortunately, there is products that we recognize but may not be the real product. We had a recent incident where a company that has a global brand in headache tablets, we went in to do an audit across, I think, 19 different markets, and across the 19 markets, we found in 16 of them, there was a 10 to 12% average of illicit trade happening in that market. So we authenticate our drivers through co-branding with you. In this example, it shows AfriStam, a cement company located in South Africa. The reverse, and then obviously the exterior of the bike. And I think this is a great option also because billboards, static billboards can be quite expensive in South Africa. We allow you the opportunity to brand the bikes and the delivery agents that are up and down the streets Monday to Saturday, working from 7 in the morning, sometimes through to 5 o'clock in the afternoons. Traditional trade distribution, I think this is the part of the presentation that a lot of people ask questions on, and the feedback that I received from Francis. Thank you for that, Francis. We deliver obviously to GPS located stores and on categories that you would determine for us. So if it was along the lines of nuts, as I see a lot of people are involved in that section of the market, we go in, we audit the entire market, have a look at who's selling nuts, what the price points are, what the price points are, and then distribute in. We have a national reach right now of about 66,000 stores, and everything is monitored through our app, which I'm going to take you through. All our drivers are employed from directly within the market. So I don't employ somebody from KwaZulu-Natal to work within Gauteng, as an example. They are trained on your brand and your unique selling proposition, as well as trained on our internal processes that they need to follow. They are provided with a new bike and new smart device on which our app is loaded. They then go out and sell, whether it's pulling from our DC or from a wholesaler of your choice. They deliver and everything's reported, and I'll talk you through that process now. If there are larger volumetric goods, and I've noted that there were 1 or 2 questions on this element, if we're not running the larger delivery system for you, i.e. the tuk-tuk 500 litre, and somebody has ordered 16 pallets of carbonated soft drinks, they may be going in to sell an energy drink on SKU 1, i.e. step 4, smaller units on SKU 2, SKU 3, but SKU 4 is 7 pallets of Coca-Cola. They click that on their app. We immediately dispatch a larger volumetric truck to go and distribute to that Spaza owner. So we look at both volumetric weight and efficiency to reach the market in the quickest possible way. From an app perspective, as I mentioned to you, all our drivers are led by an in-based own proprietary information app, which they have login details to. They would type in their password, sign in, and the following screens and sequence would come up. On screen 2, where I'm writing my cursor over now, the options come up to capture a new store, or it's an existing store that they are selling into. If it were a new store, they capture the store name, the owner's name, the phone number, whether it's caged, walk-in, self-service, or large format. They write in a physical address, as well as we pull down a GPS point, which is demonstrated in slide 4. We are then able to look at, if it's an existing store, what they're selling. So in this example here, for Philip Morris International, one of our clients, they're able to type in cigarettes. It'll bring down the various SKUs, so Marlboro Red, Chesterfield, Blue Core, and so forth. They'll type that in, how many cartons were sold. They'll take a photo of the barcode and upload it to the GPS point. So at any point, if you need to validate what I have in warehouse or what I've contractually taken out as consignment stock out of the wholesaler, I can then validate this is where everything was sold at the price point it was sold on a mapping system, which I'll take you to now. This allows me then to have a look at stores in their independent nature and see how they are transitioning within the market. So if we zoomed into the dispersion layers within Umlazi, I'm able to say that this Spaza is owned by Dado's Tuck Shop and it's owned by Sandile. My accuracy level is at about 12. That's the GPS radian from my point. And I'm able to see what they're selling and how they're selling. So to give you a live format answer, if we look at Gauteng, one of our provinces, there are approximately 51 large informal markets in Gauteng. We cover all of them. There are a couple of smaller ones which I have not denoted in this presentation for time purposes. If we looked at Tembisa, I'm able to say, right, in Tembisa, there are 8,045 businesses. Those are informal businesses. So it could be everything from carpentry to car repairs to taverns, shebeens, shisanyamas, tabletops, beauty salons, pharmacies, and so forth. I'm able to see what the number of population is sitting within that market, what the migration levels are, male to female, gender-based, what is my age distribution, what is my population by race, and as importantly, what are my denominations in terms of living standards measurements. So if the market, if we're looking at putting in a high-end product that is slightly higher than the market, I need to know that my LSMs are sitting on the upper reaches before I put a product in, and it doesn't work within that market. From there, I'm able to segment the database even further and say, right, well, within Tembisa, which is approximately 487,000 consumers, as I showed earlier on, I'm able to tell you there are 802 spazas, 45 barbers, 41 shebeens, 31 shisanyamas, 80 pharmacies, and I'm able to then categorize where your product should be focused on. So if it was, I'm going to say spices as an example, I'm able to then say, right, spazas is definitely an opportunity for me. The shebeens and shisanyamas, I should be focusing on that market too. So I'm able to segment your market and give you the best option for penetration into that market. Ultimately then, it allows me to look at and say, right, if the product was dedicated towards Spaza market, and I'm looking at Tembisa, these little dots here all demarcate live Spaza stores that are currently operating within the Tembisa area. We then categorize the market and say, right, from a pantry perspective, we look at everything from baking and cooking to beans, pulses, lentils. Breakfast cereals are an immense market in traditional trade. Condiments, jams, meat substitutes, such as soy, very big market right now and growing drastically within the country. We then break down the entire category within the informal market here. Perishables, through to the coffees and teas, tobaccos, into your, as I mentioned just now, your teas, your herbal teas, into the home care, household care, health and beauty, freezer, all of those markets. So we're able to see then where are those 802 spazas which are currently involved with baby care as an example. I can then pull out just the baby care spazas and then focus or target your products directly to a market that is interested in your brands. I think it's always good to look at, you know, the movement or the structure of the basket within markets. And it's interesting to note, I mean, Cosmo to Diepsloot to Lenasia to Mamelodi to Soweto, we're talking about 27 kilometers to 35 kilometers as a maximum distance between any of these markets. And it's interesting to watch how the basket changes. So in all, pantry always sits up near the top, barring in Soweto. Now, the reason for that, and it's a very interesting one, is in Soweto, we have a very big mall that has come up called the Maponya Mall. And a lot of the pantry blocking or the fridge blocking is done within the large set malls. However, if you were launching extruded snacks, for example, Soweto would be of definite interest to you for distribution of chips and so forth. Pantry is number one across Cosmo, Diepsloot, Lenasia, and Mamelodi, which are all part of the big 51 markets in Gauteng. And then from there it goes down, looking where snacks sits in other markets. Household is sitting quite high in a lot of them. But obviously it sits pantry, perishable, snacks, and health and beauty are your runners in front. And I think that is critically important to knowing that when we provide you with a solution, depending on your product, that we are targeting within the right market and the right segment of the market to give you the maximum effectiveness that we could through our distribution. And on to the last part of our services, which is sampling and engagement. And I do again acknowledge that there were a couple of questions that were raised on this. Activations and below the line engagement are critically important. I think a lot of times people launch into a market, they position a product based purely on price, and then the upliftment is not there. And it very much comes down to the fact that, one, the market is contracted right now in the rand, and the rand is tighter than it's been a long time. But people won't take the risk anymore on that brand. So the $5 rand that they would have otherwise spent on your competitor, they will continue to spend on the competitor, regardless of you being at $4.50 or at $9.50, the competitor's at 10, simply because they need to trial, taste, or experience your brand. And I think the sentence that we put in there, tell me and I'll forget, show me and I may remember, involve me and I'll understand, is testament to as to why we have the activation teams. So this is all done as an internal service to the business, from having our own DC to the auditing in markets are done through our own teams. We don't outsource to third parties. We do it all internally. Through to the distribution and route to market delivery. We're happy to take your point of sale if you have better buying power to your agencies net. Take your point of sale and deliver it directly to Spaza. And then obviously support from an activation and the below the line perspective from our side. So in a nutshell, and I've been very cognizant of the time because France has me on a time schedule here. I hope that I provided as much information of value to you as to what we could offer as a business in South Africa. Unfortunately, we don't offer the export side of the business right now. I think we are trying to remain true to what our expertise and our level of experience is, and that is delivery into traditional trade in South Africa. Exporters, I know that, through the help of the hub, I'm quite sure they'll be able to facilitate and assist you in some of those ways. But I would love to further conversations with you, either directly or through the hub, to create the perfect opportunity for you and your business to grow within South Africa. That in a nutshell is my presentation to you today, and I'd like to thank you very, very much for your time. I'm happy to take questions if that's in line with how the roll from here. And then again, just to thank Mr. Gold and his team and Francis for everything they've done.
Thank you very much, Reggie, for the presentation and talking us through your value proposition. I think just to emphasize the magnitude of the market that we're talking about, if we are talking about Gauteng alone, which is your Johannesburg, Pretoria, Ekurhuleni areas, we are talking of this being 34% of the South African economy. And in that regard, you could pretty much say for every 100 Rand spent in South Africa, 34 Rand of it is spent in Gauteng. So this area that has been showing us in terms of Tembisa and all these other areas is quite an active market that we think represents an opportunity for firms in the region to collaborate with the Spaza shops that he's talking about. We'll now move into the question and answer session, and we have allocated some time for that. Let me just maybe check in terms of timing, because we'd asked for your time up to, 12:30. Are you fine with us adding another 30 minutes just to go to 1 o'clock?
Yes, it's fine, Doctor.
Okay, shall we try that? Let's start with the questions. So the first question that we got is from Stephanie. And the question is 5 minutes to town able to provide market research and product testing that suppliers are interested in? Is there an additional cost to this? So let's allow Reggie to respond to this question before we move on to the next one. Reggie, did you get the question, or do you want me to repeat it?
No, sir, I got the question.
Thank you.
Stephanie, thank you for your question. Research in terms of, by our understanding, and again, you can direct me on where you'd like this question to go, but from our understanding is going into the Spaza stores, checking whether there is a category for you. And I'm not sure what company you represent, but checking if there's a category for you. What are the volumes that are currently being sold out? What are your competitors selling out? What is their package type preference from a consumer perspective? Are their preferences in terms of taste, i.e., and again, not knowing from which category you're playing in, but is there a preference towards strawberry or chocolate or cola or vanilla? Yes, most definitely we complete all of those. From a sampling perspective and engaging with people in market, i.e. out in the streets or directly at their homes, yes, that is a service we currently offer. So we do both directly to home and engaging with people at their place of residence, alternatively in market, in the streets, at shopping centers, tax ranks and so forth, and providing them with one of your samples for them to come back with their feeling and their preference or their take on this. Yes, that is definitely a service we offer. It is a paid for service because obviously we deploy individuals to go and work in the streets from either early morning on the taxi runs through to late afternoons on the return taxi runs. It is a paid for service from our side. I'd be happy to discuss with that depending on each brief. I think every brief is going to be different, and we don't do a standard rate card because invariably what I may charge you may not be fair to another client. So we work on a brief per brief kind of premise. I hope I've answered you correctly.
Thanks, Reggie. Stephanie, are you answered? Please unmute. You can unmute. Go ahead, Stephanie. We can't hear you.
Golden, Stephanie is indicating that she has very loud construction there.
Oh, I see.
But she indicated, yes, she's been answered.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Okay, we move on to the next question. This one is coming from Nelson Chisenga, I suspect from Zambia. Is 5 minutes to town able to provide SPS requirements, especially for perishable products? Is the question clear to you, Reggie?
No, please define SPS.
Okay, let's get Nelson to speak. Nelson, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, thanks, Gordon. And Reg, basically, I'm looking at sanitary and phytosanitary requirements, which are normally associated with exporting things like fresh fruits, fresh beef, or animal products, as it were. So in terms of those suppliers from Zambia would be interested in supplying fresh products to some of the spazas there, would you be able to provide assistance in terms of documentations that would be required for them to fulfill?
Thank you, Nelson. In terms of food groups and the laws around food groups in terms of storage net, we are in the process of providing that for now an existing client that's taken on one of our warehouses. So we're not there yet. We're probably about, I'm going to estimate about a month away from finalizing that and ensuring that we are compliant in terms of the letter of the law. At such time, I'd be happy to engage with you. Obviously, if your choice is to go directly through a wholesaler from which we would contract out of, they are all compliant as far as to the best of my understanding.
Okay, thank you very much. Just perhaps to indicate that from the hub perspective, for companies that may require that kind of support, guidance can be provided through the country offices in terms of what you need to comply with the SPS requirements in South Africa. We have firms that have already been exporting in South Africa and they've gone through that, and that information can be shared readily to all the other companies that require it. The next question is also from Nelson. He was asking for the presentation. Yes, it can be shared after the workshop, provided you registered and we've got your details. The next one is from Nicole. How do they have agreements with forecourts? Are they in a position to help with direct sales to households? Tavo Earth Vitamins.
Tavo, hi. From a forecourt perspective, Matt, as I mentioned to you, we don't work within the formalized trade or within South Africa. That we work more within the informal market. In a lot of the informal markets, there will be a total or an engine or a BP located out a distance from any of the formalized trade. We obviously go in and sell into those markets when we have the opportunity, and we know that we have KPIs to achieve on behalf of our clients. A lot of instances, although they are contracted to place their orders through the head office net, in a lot of instances they don't, because they're in dire need of delivery, and a lot of times the trucks don't get out to them or they consider last on the list. We deliver to them immediately in those markets.
Are you answered, Nicole?
I see there's another point to your question in terms of direct to home. Yes, we'd be happy to do that. We're currently doing a campaign for a client right now in the pet nutrition world, and delivering samples directly to people's homes in various markets. So we are able to do direct to home delivery also.
Nicole, are you answered? I have unmuted you. Yeah, Reggie, are you having a small COVID there?
Something just got stuck in my throat, sorry.
That's all right. Take a sip. Okay, we move on to the next question. When our tea and coffee retail products are not yet registered with any cash and carry or wholesaler in South Africa, would you be able to stock in your warehouse and sell on our behalf?
Most definitely. Tea and coffee are very big in traditional trade. We would love to participate with you on your product range. That the fact that you're not listed in cash and carry, that's fine. I mean, one of our starting points then is we always believe in starting small with the client. I think I need to prove myself to you also. So if we were to pick 1 or 2 markets, put it into our warehouse net, let us prove ourselves and our abilities and our services to you on a small level. And if we can provide you with good commercial benefit, then we can grow over time together. We'd love to engage in looking at tea and coffee. Those are big in the informal market.
Okay.
Thank you for the reply. We will definitely get in contact and we will send you some samples and price indications. So we can take it from there.
Mm-hmm. Where are you based out of interest?
We are based in Malawi.
Right.
We are Satemwa Tea and Coffee Estate in the southern region of Malawi. And we sell our retail-ready tea and coffee products in the Malawi market, and we are venturing into Zambia again.
Thank you. So there's business to be had. You can have a follow-up discussion.
Thank you.
Then the next question is from Nicole again. Kindly also share the presentation. Yes, we shall do. Are you in a position to help with sales at events in stadiums, etc.? Is that in the pipeline?
Yeah, so one of 2 ways. I mean, I'm trying to understand the question. I'm assuming that there is the activation point of view, which is getting people to sample, trial, and experience your brand. The other option then is to create mobile kiosks, which would accept cash or accept card or any payment solution for the sale of your product. That's also something that we can do for you, definitely.
Okay.
Obviously, if it's correct for the market, which I'm assuming by your knowledge it is.
All right. Then the next question is from Sonia. Please advise on how you would secure our brand name so that it would not be replicated or copied.
Sonia, that's a very tough one. You know, some of the biggest brands in South Africa and recognizable elsewhere in the world are fraudulently copied. You know, in South Africa right now, we are facing an incredible uphill task with just one sector, and that is the tobacco sector in South Africa. There is an incredible amount of illicit trade happening within the market, and it's really hard to stop. We always, the moment we pick up on illicit stock, or whatever category it is, we have a number, toll-free number supplied to us by government in South Africa, which we pin the location and the product listing. And if we can get a photo without getting into trouble, we pin the location and the name of the spaza and the product in question and send it through, and they invariably send out a team to investigate. However, our ability to limit the creation of illicit stock is a little bit, it's held back a little bit. We're unable to do that. I'll always advise you if I'm seeing people starting to copy your brand, and I will always take it to the correct authorities in South Africa, but it's very, very hard to stop illicit trade in our country.
All right. That was the last question. We don't have any other questions. Let's open it up in terms of anybody else who may have a question. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. So while people are still thinking of questions, let me ask you a question, Reggie.
Oh dear.
So if I'm a company in Malawi or in Mozambique and I've got groundnuts and I want to sell them in the informal sector in South Africa, what would be the best arrangement for me to follow to make that happen?
Mr. Golden, sir, are you saying formal or informal?
Informal. So let's say I've got groundnuts in Malawi, in Mozambique. I've got soya products like soya porridge that can be sold in smaller sachets, and I want that sold in Spaza shops. What would be the best way for me to enter into that market?
So there's one of two routes. The first route is, as we showed through our services, is to first select one or two markets, which we will guide and advise on, given our experience as to where, your example, nuts, alternatively porridge, and porridge is across all markets. Going to those markets will advise you which markets you should select at first. We will then go in and audit all the spazas within that market. So in Soweto, there are 4,976 spazas in Soweto. We'll tell you exactly which of those spazas are selling and which are not. In the nuts example, the trade is not only in the spaza though, it's also on street, at intersections with hawkers and tabletops, and we think that would be a good opportunity for the company you've referenced. From a porridge perspective, it's all markets. One of the things that I mentioned, obviously, within the nut side, the opportunity or the rationale rather to do sampling, I think isn't as strong as it would be required if we were doing porridge. Porridge is in every single spaza in South Africa and is a great market to engage with. But in that, one would need to sample into the market. So people need to taste, trial, and experience your brand. Once they have and they enjoy it, our efforts then move towards the spaza owner himself. We engage with the spaza owner to say, have a look outside. We've just done a week's worth of promotions in the street. People love the product and the taste net. We'd like you to start off by seeding you with a case of the product and that for you to on-sell to market. And then from there, all we do is we replicate that market and be able to deliver into the spaza on the frequency that he or she requires, weekly, monthly, or every bi-weekly, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Any other questions, colleagues?
Yeah, it's Stuart Hall here from Zambia.
Yes, Stuart, please go ahead.
How are you doing, man? In connection with the example that you've just used, say with the instant porridge, what would be the launch costs, the penetration time for, say, a new product from your experience?
So, Stuart, if I hope I answer you correctly here. Again, it comes down to desire and appetite of the clients. Some clients want to launch into 50 markets overnight, and that costs massive resources to deploy 50 markets with, let's say, an average of 10 promoters or BAs in each market, and that we're talking all of a sudden 500 promoters working day in, day out. So again, it's looking at each market where we believe the best opportunity would exist. On one market to deploy 2-3 field teams to go in and cover the Tembisa was my example, 480,000 people that reside within Tembisa, to cover a good penetration figure of, let's say, 25%. Again, not understanding whether the product is aimed at the youth, minors, youngsters, young adults, or older than that. You know, we can be done within the market within 2 weeks flat and cover 150,000 people in terms of sampling. Again, it comes down to what's required. You know, are we branding the individuals? Are we doing wet demonstration? Are we just handing out merely a sample that they're able to take home and engage with their family with? All of those are taken into consideration and build the most commercial, beneficial commercial opportunity for you, understanding what your budget requirements are.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Are you answered, Stuart?
Yeah, thanks. I think I'll be in contact, and then we can probably try and get more to the nitty-gritty of it.
All right. So we have some new questions that have come through. This one is from Chiedza Marex. I represent Africa Procurement and Logistics. What help can I get from the hub to connect with customers and improve our exports to Southern African countries? Is there a platform we can register and interact with the customers? We already have an office in Mozambique. So, Chiedza, the short answer to your question is that please provide your contact details, and we'll have somebody from the Mozambique office contact you. We have an office in Mozambique. They can assist you with your question. The next one is from Sonia. What sort of packaging for sauces is advisable for the spaza shops? Shisha nyamas, etc., plastic or glass? Let me just explain the shisha nyama, what that means for everyone. So shisha nyama is a place where people braai or roast meat. So for those of you who are doing spices, that can also be a market for you. So let me repeat the question. What sort of packaging for sauces is advisable for the spaza shops and shisha nyamas, plastic or glass? Reggie?
So from our side and our experience, there seems to be a change in market now to smaller pack size, first and foremost. And then secondly, there is a preference towards plastic as the example you used. There is a move away from glass. From our side, that suits us fine. Obviously, glass is a heavier weighted object, which has implications on our vehicles and volumes that we can cover. But from what we're seeing in market right now, there is a direct move towards smaller pack sizes and the plastic easy perforated tear type of environments both from a Spaza perspective as well as from a Shisnyama.
All right. Thank you. The next question is, my name is Spusiso Mnisi from Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority. I would like to know, how do you regulate issues of standards or quality on this issue? Unfortunately, I just joined the session, so pardon me if it has been answered.
I'm not really following the questions, so
let me ask him to speak. Spusiso, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much, Golden. I just wanted to know, in terms of the issues of standards, as to how do they regulate. I think the question is directed to Mr. Rugero there. Unfortunately, as I said, I'm not able to know if you've already answered this one. I just joined the session. So just to know if you want to export chili sauces and all of those products, food products, what is the issue of standards? What are their requirements?
In terms of standards in South Africa, obviously everything has to go through the regulation bodies to be approved. The moment the regulation bodies have approved whatever the product or the category is for distribution or for consumption within South Africa, then for us to accept the product and be able to deliver to the various markets, that becomes very, very easy. We don't distribute unless we don't have the support of government in terms of what the product is. Have I answered you, sir?
Yeah, to a certain extent, yeah. I think it's clear. Thank you very much.
So the point you're making, Reg, is that the quality parameters are already taken care of at the point at which the products are brought into the country. From then on, you are distributing the products as licensed in the country to be sold.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Spusiso. The next one is from Dorcas. Oh no, it's not a question actually. It's not a question. So
sorry, Golden.
Oh, she says. So sorry, George. You wanted to add to that question?
So sorry to interject. I wanted to. Hi, Spusiso. We work very closely with the then SIPA now Eswatini Investment and Promotion Authority, and I think the other way to go around what you've just asked is to link up with Tammy there. We now have an office in Eswatini, and Tammy will be able to work with you on what is required in terms of observation or regarding standards requirements and how products can actually be, or exporters can be assisted to comply with destination standards.
Thank you very much for that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, George. The next one is from Frederick. I am from Malawi. How does South Africa government regulate? Okay, I'm reconstructing the question. Are you Frederick?
You skipped mine, Golden.
Your name is?
It's Tabo, but it's going under Nicole Ramuch.
Okay, we'll be coming to that in a moment, Tabo.
Right.
How does South African government regulate honey from other countries? So this is coming from Malawi.
Golden, I'm afraid I don't know what how South African government regulates the import of honey.
Yeah, it's not for you. So again, in terms of this particular question, if you can please speak to Doug Siska in Malawi, our country representative. He will be able to give you the guidance in terms of how to go about exporting your honey. But was your interest to get your honey into the spazas? Frederick? Frederick, you can go ahead and speak. Frederick, go ahead. Okay, well, Frederick is thinking through that. Let's go back to Tabo. Tabo, please go ahead and ask your questions.
Hi, Rugero. Sorry, my internet connection got cut off. So you were in the middle of answering my question on whether you do forecourts, but I sort of like got that you don't really do forecourts unless they're in the regions that you operate from. Is your scope cast in stone, or you are able to bend around that? And are you able to also help with direct sales into households, which is an avenue that we are also trying to explore into South Africa?
So firstly, in terms of the forecourts in South Africa, that, as you did hear before, you got cut off, we only work within the markets, the informal markets where there is possibly a BP and engine, and they've lost out on I think, efficient deliveries to their markets. We'll then pick up that weighting. As for a BP located in Santonsi, no, it's not a market that we engage with. We want to remain true to who we are, and that is the traditional trade.
Okay, and lastly, do you do direct sales to, say, events or something like into stadiums? Are you able to help out with that kind of sales mechanisms?
Yes, we are able to help out with that. So whether it's the setting up of a kiosk at a stadium for an event, or alternatively getting seeded into the various shops at our stadia, we're happy to help on that. It is something that we've done in the past.
Okay, 100%. I'm very interested in that.
Thanks, Tabo. We should follow up. Make sure, please, everyone, make sure that you've given us your contact details. There's going to be a draw, and we are only going to be using names. If we don't have your name, you may win and not get the prize. This one is from Pomotso from LNDC in Lesotho. You are just confirming that this is a good initiative that is making markets work for the poor, ensuring that we break walls of between premium and low-end markets. Thank you for confirming that. Next one is from Taro Incorporated. My name is Vasco from Mozambique. I have seen in the presentation something related to Namibia. Do you guys offer access to Namibian market?
So in our mapping, and I'm assuming that's what you're referencing in our mapping, and you would have seen Namibia off to the side of our mapping, that it's not a market we're currently engaged with, although we have a desire to move beyond our borders in South Africa, and that in time to come, it's not something we've accessed as yet.
Okay, so Frederick has just confirmed that he's targeting the spazas in South Africa with honey, and you will need to have that question of the standards answered, and we'll address that separately. Then the next one is Taro Incorporated. We're dealing with a cashew snake. If we have all certification that complies with the highest standards in the world regarding the food safety, what can be our expectation regarding time to see our product to start to be available in the market? Can you guys help us on listing our product to big retailers or wholesalers? This is from Vasco Patricio from Mozambique.
Hi, Vasco. From our side, in terms of the wholesalers and the cash and carries, we'd definitely be able to assist you on that side. Unfortunately, in terms of the big retailers like the pick and pays and things like that, that's not our market, and unfortunately, we're unable to assist on that. In terms of wholesalers within market, yes, we are able to assist you.
Okay. Are you answered, Vasco?
Hello. from my side, my interest is on baby vegetables. From the guys that you've listed there, what's your advice on that? Will they be interested in baby vegetables from Eswatini?
Hi, Clement. Fresh produce in our market seems to have more of a delivery through tabletop, taxi rank and things like that versus Spaza. There is, in some of the markets, and I think specifically to Diepsloot and Cosmo City and out in Northwest also, there are Spazas that run the fresh produce lines. For the most part, they don't. However, if your fresh produce is looking at getting onto tabletops, yes, we're able to help you there. But Spaza, unfortunately, it's probably about 10% penetration in the Spaza market.
Thank you. The next one is from Joseph Ngeno. Paulus, what if I want to sell product from South Africa in Namibia in my informal shop? What are the, it's not very clear, is it processes that one go through? So let me understand, Joseph, so you want to get product from South Africa to your shop in Namibia, is that correct? Please unmute yourself and speak.
Yes. What I want to ask is, for example, if I have an informal shop and I need some certain product to sell into my shop, maybe it might not only from South Africa, but anywhere with these people that are connected or anywhere in Africa. What are the process? What should I go through for me to get what I need to sell or this product? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Joseph. Please put your details down if you have not registered with your contact details, and we'll have somebody follow up with you in Namibia to give you the response to your question. There's just been another question. I think this is from Taro. Sorry you missed the answer to this question. We are dealing with a cashew snake if we have all the certification. I thought this was already answered. Vasco, did you get the response to your question on the cashew snake?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Unfortunately, I didn't have the answer regarding the time. I would like to know, in terms of time, what can we expect 1 month, 2 months to see our products available to everyone to start buying it?
Okay. How much time it will take to activate your product?
Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much for clarifying. Reggie?
Very much.
So in terms of taking the product into a wholesale market, if that's the route you want to go, obviously it's a negotiation with the various wholesalers from the Africa cash and carriers and so forth. If it's getting it into the Spaza market, i.e. directly through our facilities and then direct to market that, it would foreseeably be a much quicker process because for us it's just straight into our warehouse and then straight into distribution in the market. So understanding which way you want to go, you've raised wholesalers, and I think you also raised formal market or big retail chains. From a big retail perspective, that unfortunately cannot help there. In an informal market, being the wholesalers and cash and carriers, we are more than happy to help you get your product into those markets. It is a lengthy process. From our side, directly with us, Nat, it's straight into our warehouse, and then our agents go out and start selling straight away. So those are your two options in engaging with us.
Okay. Next question is from Samuel Sinyangwe. He says, this is a good initiative. My question is whether you provide market information on agricultural products on demand on the market in South Africa.
Samuel, if I could ask you just to define agricultural products, which category of agricultural products are you referencing?
Samuel, please speak.
Representing Zambia, coming from Nischilo Suppliers. The market, the products that I'm talking about are products such as beans, cowpeas, and any of these non-perishables. So the question is, there are seasons that these products are ready. So do you provide market information as to when it is right for such products to be made available to South African markets.
Thank you, Samuel. During the presentation on the category or categorization, one of the elements, and I raised it when I was going through the presentation, that is beans, speckled beans, so forth and that. So we do have access to the market. I know it is a big seller within the South African Spaza market. Specific to your category in that, obviously I'd need to go and audit and get the information for you as to what the seasons are and the rotations and so forth. But I'm very much aware that beans and agricultural elements, like you've suggested now, definitely desirable in our market.
All right. So we'll take one more question and then we move on to the next stage. We have some people that are anxious now to know about, so how do we proceed with this venture in terms of how do we make it happen? So we'll get that, that's the next session that we get into. I think Lomtunzi is just asking a question. What about processed products, processed food products? I think he's linking it to the previous question in terms of demand, the market demand.
So again, then our suggestion is always to audit a market, to start small. We pick 3 or 4 potential markets for you in collaboration with you or in consultation with you. We'll go in and we'll audit the entire market, understand, is your category currently existing within the Spaza market? If it exists, then there's desire from consumer side, and then it's just about seeding and placing your product into market. So depending on what your processed food product is, we'd be able to help on that side, definitely.
All right. Thank you. So as we move into the next session, Reggie, I'm going to invite Francis to lead us on that. The question is, so if I am Taro Incorporated in Mozambique, as Vasco is, I'm using that as an example because he's the one who is actually quite anxious to get in now. And he says, okay, I've got the product. It meets all the quality specs to get into the South African market. I now want to move. What would that take? So let me just check first with Francis before I let you respond. Francis, can you hear me? Okay, Francis can't hear me. Let me let you answer that question in terms of, okay. So if we have a number of companies that are convinced that this is a market that they want to target, they've got the product, it already meets the specifications, certification and otherwise, and they want to move. What are the next steps that need to be engaged in?
Okay, so I think there's 1 or 2 steps that we need to look at prior to getting to that. So first and foremost, a lot of our clients currently are exclusive route to market distributors with us. So they pay for the entire service for our one delivery agent, and they own that route entirely. So we're not allowed to stock or seed or place any other brands on their bikes or their tuk-tuks. Obviously, that is a financial strain possibly for some organizations. What we are prepared to do and what we do currently do then is create baskets. So one agent then carries possibly 1, 2, 3 different SKUs or 1, 2, 3 different brands from 3 different companies, just making it more commercially viable for all participants. Once we can establish that, then it's to sit down and say, right, well, having a look at your category, we know that from your category's perspective, you'll be best placed within Soshanguve and Atteridgeville as examples. We understand by Soshanguve and Atteridgeville, this is the number of spazas that we need to attain, and that would start creating then how much we would need to commercially look at as a proposal to the client at the end of the day. So the starting point is very much budget dependent, I suppose. Do you want exclusive routes and only your drivers work only for you and deliver only on your products, or are you prepared to share in the basket of the delivery in that? So I'm just going to say randomly, and please forgive me, I don't wish to upset anyone, but if it's nuts and porridge as an example, that would you be prepared to share the delivery, and then from there the costs are halved? So starting point for me is to understand budget-wise where you want it to be. Then we need to look at what your product category is, markets that would most suit. From there, look at the audit of the market, seeing who your competitors are there, what are their price points. You obviously want to be competitive with your competitors. and then delivery into that market. So each one, we work on a brief per brief basis.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Reggie, so the first starting point would be for those exporters that are interested in this as a market to indicate they are interested in this market and this is the product, these are the product categories that they're interested to bring into South Africa, point number one. Then number two, it becomes now a direct discussion between you and each of the companies. Between you and each of the companies to get to understand whether they are looking for exclusive routes or sharing delivery through this basket. And then you then get into the audit of the market and see how you activate their products in that market. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct, Reggie?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Tsepiso.
Golden, sorry, just seeing if you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you now. Please go ahead, Francis.
Yes. Guys, I can't believe it. I'm sorry, I was unmuted and trying to speak and nobody could hear me. So thanks very much for summarizing the next steps and confirming them. Just to perhaps add, and I may have missed that in the process of reconnecting, but what we would like to do is send a brief survey to everyone who registered for the event to just find out in more detail what the particular area of interest is. Also to request that you share a catalogue of the products that you would be interested in distributing through this particular channel, so that we've got some information to share with Reg ahead of a meeting with him. And then we would be very happy to facilitate meetings between yourselves and Reg as quickly as we can. So thank you very much for all the interest, and we will be in contact soon with the survey and follow-up.
Thank you, Francis. So, Tsepiso, can you confirm if you've got the contact details of all the participants so that the follow-up becomes easy and no one is left out?
Yes, from the previous platforms responses and the ones on this one, I'm collating them, so we do have. And I'd just like to urge those who did not register initially to just drop us an email or drop their email address in the chat box for us to follow up. Thank you.
Okay, so you would want the name, the email address, and
company and
the company that they are representing for follow-up purposes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and as I've indicated, we'll also enter the names into a draw and float a prize for the top three that come out of the draw. So please make sure that we've got your correct details. So please put in your name, your company, and your email address. With that said, let me invite George to give us the closing remarks. But before I do that, Reggie, do you have any last words that you want to put across to the participants?
Thank you, sir. I think just in closing from my side, you know, the informal market in South Africa is exciting. It's diverse, it's liquid, it's moving all the time. If we listen to Coca-Cola South Africa, they estimate 250,000 shops in South Africa, which is a very exciting figure. And I think there is immense opportunity for people to engage in our market. I think as long as we're fair to the market and we treat the market with respect, it is an incredibly exciting market to engage with. And I hope to work with some of you in the future. Then lastly, just to say thank you to Golden and Francis and everyone on their side from the Hub for everything that they've done today for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Reggie. George, can you please give us the closing remarks?
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks to everyone for firstly joining this what I would want to term our next normal life going forward, I guess, because of the challenges that we're facing with COVID, and things will never be the same. Let me also take this opportunity to actually apologize on behalf of the hub for the initial glitches we had, the challenges we had with the technology. Technology always lets you down when you least expect it. I do hope that after we sorted out the initial glitches, you all found this event worthwhile, like I did. This is part of the hub's continued effort or efforts to link suppliers in the region to the huge South African market and the South African buyers. And we do hope that we'll continue to explore other opportunities that we can actually expose to you and get us to look at the best we can get you suppliers to take advantage of this huge market. I want also to urge you to use this opportunity. It's a huge opportunity, and I think you have heard for yourselves how big this opportunity is in terms of the size of the market and the role that the spazas do play on the South African market. We are not, no, as a hub, we are not under any illusion that things are going to be smooth sailing. They definitely going to be challenges as we try all these new things. But what is critical is for us to continue to work together. In fact, I noticed and recognized a number of names and organizations that we are already working with as a hub. Let's continue to work together. As Golden pointed out earlier, we do have now offices or contact points in every country where the hub operates. That is the 7 countries outside South Africa, looking at the circle countries, led by, of course, South Africa itself. We have offices we have a contact person in Botswana. We do have a contact person in Eswatini, Lesotho, Mozambique, Zambia, Namibia. So those 7 countries outside South Africa, there is somebody right next to you, or at least in the main city, that you can actually call upon to be the first point of call for your inquiries when you want to either look at this further or find out what opportunities lie in South Africa for you, or the US as our main areas of operation. So please take advantage of that. We will continue to reach out to you where we feel there are opportunities that we can share with you, so that we can discuss those opportunities together and continue to find ways of getting us to get you to be able to take advantage of the South African market as well as the US market. Finally, I would like to thank all of you again for taking this opportunity, and I hope that you'll continue to be in contact with us as was outlined earlier in terms of submitting your contact details, and then we will reach out to you with the next steps that were outlined there as we go forward. And I hope that we will start seeing some results from this exercise. Thank you all for attending the webinar.
Thanks a lot, George. I think just to make sure that the respective colleagues from the respective countries have got contact details, can I ask all the country reps or country program assistants to also just indicate their names and contact details in the chat box so that the contacts from the respective countries can also get them? So Zambia, Malawi, Mozambique, Lesotho, Eswatini, let's put in our details in the chat box so that the companies in those respective countries can get our details. Okay, Doug, I see you've done for Malawi. Can we have somebody for Namibia put in their details? Renelwe for Lesotho, thank you very much. If we can indicate the country so that they know you're from that country. Mozambique, do we have somebody from Mozambique on the line? Honorata or Katia?
Yes, Golden, we are here. I'm putting in the details right now.
Thank you very much.
Yes, 5-star distributor as well. I'm adding the details.
All right, thank you. And then for Zambia, Kevin, are you on the line? Thank you very much, colleagues. This marks the end of our webinar. Thank you for your time and apologies once again for the slight hiccup at the beginning. Thank you for bearing with us and contributing to the discussions. We really appreciate and we shall be following up with you. This marks the end of our webinar. You are free to drop off.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Golden.
Thank you very much, Spasiso. We look forward to following up and discussing further.
Thank you.